Before we get into today's episode, I just want to talk about being a working mom for a moment. Before the pandemic hit, I was honestly struggling to juggle it all. Getting up, getting ready, getting Milo up, getting him ready, getting both of us out the door, rushing to daycare, leaving him in the uncertain care of a stranger, then sitting in the stresses of rush hour traffic, paying for parking in the garage of my downtown high-rise office, skipping lunch, and then leaving early just to be able to pick him up from daycare on time. Corporate finance didn't match me as a solo parent, and that's why I chose to build my own home bookkeeping business. You might not be in the exact same situation, but whatever your need for flexibility is, I created the Home Bookkeeper Masterclass just for that. Professional and lifestyle flexibility. My course is now, for a limited time, being offered for only $99. In this course, I share everything I've learned about building and scaling my very own remote home bookkeeping practice. Enroll now at edjconsultinggroup.com under resources.
We're back with another episode of Mommy Wines with your favorite wine mom, Emma Dawn. Tune in while she shares her motherhood experiences, introduces you to motivational and empowering special guests, and sips away your sins. In the Mommy Wines Confessional, mom life can sometimes get lonely and overwhelming, so she created this relatable, inclusive, and supportive space for us to be ourselves. Let loose, enjoy a glass of wine, and laugh. Get ready for today's episode. Here's Emma.
Hi, Emma.
Hi. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. I just got done gardening. I took all of my little seedlings out and put them in a raised garden bed this morning. So I'm so glad you downloaded the Anchor app, because if we were doing this over Zoom, you would be like, go take a shower, you're dirty. But I love that your booking company connected us, because I looked at your one sheet and I was just really interested in the bio that I read. It says here that you are a spiritual life coach and you help busy professionals. And
Yes.
That is me. So I'm so excited to hear more about you. Share with the audience kind of what you do and what got you started.
So I am a pharmacist and a spiritual life coach, and I help people, especially busy professional and sensitive high achiever, to reconnect with their own truth and to build fulfilling relationship and live authentically to themselves.
Oh, I love that. We need to take a short break to talk about my favorite wine company that gives back, and that's One Hope. I'm proud to say and celebrate that One Hope Wine has reached over $6 million in donations. That's crazy. One Hope's award-winning wines are made by some of the most acclaimed winemakers in the industry. Blending traditional winemaking methods with modern techniques, each exquisite bottle becomes a catalyst for change. One Hope's commitment to high-quality wine is as important as their commitment to the causes they support. Through the sale of every bottle, One Hope has donated over $6 million to impactful causes around the world. They have built a school in Guatemala, funded over 19,000 days of clinical trials for breast cancer research, planted a forest in Indonesia, provided over 3 million meals for children in need, and found over 80,000 pets forever homes. If you're going to sip, then sip with purpose. They even just released the new tasting flights, mini bottles for you to have your own wine tasting right at home. Shop, ship, sip, One Hope. at onehopewines.com/myshop/mommywines. Link is in the show notes below.
So my journey doesn't have really like a set start date. It was more of a gradual, but one of the catalyst event that set it off was years ago when I was in pharmacy school, and I was engaged at that time, and everything looked great on the outside, but on the inside I was miserable, but I was still in denial. I didn't want to face it. And it was just one of these casual afternoon after a test and gearing up for another one. I was just relaxing with my best girlfriend, and she was just commenting that she wanted the relationship just like mine, very lovey-dovey. And I was like, it wasn't that great. It was, I don't know. I had to play, I had to play this perfect role of a girlfriend, so it looked like that, but it wasn't that great. I don't know what you're talking about. And and she was like, what? And then I feel like, that's kind of my dirty secret coming out. But then immediately I would just brush it off and like, well, I'm probably just having cold feet. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But then my girlfriend had the insight to just like asking me deeper, like, no, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you not feeling like it? Was it not going well? And I was like, well, everything is going well, but I don't feel that it's going well.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, so I was just very miserable, and I was just telling her like, okay, so actually, I opened up and talked to her about my past, when I first came to the US at 16 by myself, I was very depressed and very isolated, and I got into a lot of relationships that I shouldn't be in. And then afterward, I just think that I couldn't deserve any happiness because it was like just an act that I just get into all these kind of relationships. So I was just waiting for bad karma to hit me. Still like waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it took me a very long time to realize that I really hated myself. I had no self-esteem left. I couldn't see anything about self-worth. And I was just hating myself. And I was telling her that I don't know if I deserve any happiness. I feel like I have to work hard to earn it, because I was such a bad person, because I got into all these relationships before, and I wasn't very honest. And the beautiful thing about that is when I became vulnerable, my best friend also became vulnerable herself and shared with me her own past. And I was, still adamant that she is a sweet person and she deserves everything good. And a few months later, while we were driving along, most of our insight come when we are alone. So, which is rare for me at that time when I just scheduled back to back with school and work and being with my then fiance. So one of those days, I was driving along, and that I had an epiphany that if I just switched place with my best friend and did everything she did, I would never even consider to even think of her of anything less. So I realized that I was just being too hard on myself for more than a decade. I just really hated myself for some mistake I did when I was young. So I decided to forgive myself, and that kickstarted everything of my own inner journey. Once I forgave myself, the relief was like overnight, when it wasn't just me, it was just a mistake. And when I have the courage to face that nothing is working out in my life, I was just very miserable. I just had to take a hard look of what I actually wanted and what is aligned with me and my truth and what's not. And so I broke off the engagement. I still pursued pharmacy because I like medicine. And even though on the outside, my life didn't change too much, minus one relationship, but everything changed inside. And after that, when I get started, after that, I met my teacher to teach me meditation. And I have changed ever since.
So do you think you could have grown so much personally if you would have stayed in that relationship? Or do you think your breakup really kind of catapulted that kind of inward focus on your own personal growth?
I would never grow if
Really?
if I would stay in that relationship because I would keep being in denial. And that breakup, even though I initiate, it's still very painful. I think every
Yeah.
breakup, no matter who initiate, still very painful. And we invested so much time and our effort, and one thing or not, we care about the other person in some way or form. Um, so yeah, the breakup really helped, even though it was very painful. But I think a lot of our challenges in life, especially for breakup, for career change, sometimes is difficult. But for career, it tends to be more objective. We don't associate so much of our life with our career. Like yes, but it's still there is an objective part of it in relationship. There's so many side of it that come out, so many vulnerable side of us that come out. And so when a relationship broken up, we become very vulnerable and honest, and that pain make us very raw and honest. And we, no matter what method we use to cope, whether drowning in wine or Netflix or just vegetate, or we even like try to get into rebound relationship, like no matter what we do, there is nothing we can do to dull that pain. Like we still feel that pain, and that pain made us very honest. And that's why the breakup really catalyst to break to break me open and to actually take a look at myself. If I never broke up, no, I would never grown. I couldn't even dream of the level of growth that I can have.
See, yeah, I totally understand that because I'm a single mom. And there have been times where I thought about getting back together with my son's dad, but it wasn't because I wanted to. It was because I thought like I needed to,
Mm-hmm.
or I was in a position where it would have been very convenient to my life. And luckily I didn't go down that road because now I have done so much self-growth and so much like discovery and just learning who I am and what I want to be. So yeah, I totally understand that because I feel like you really have to sit with yourself to do any kind of personal growth. And you don't have to like, end a marriage or like end your relationship to do
No,
that.
no.
I think you just really have to like look really deep inside. And
Yes.
I've kind of learned over the past couple years because I've done a lot of self-discovery, especially through the pandemic, because you have no other option but to like sit at home with yourself, and if somebody went through the stay home and didn't do any
Mm-hmm.
kind of self-discovery, I would be really confused. I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, I had nothing to do but sit at home with myself.
Well, I think it was kind of hard. Everybody have different circumstances in the pandemic. Even if you were just sitting by yourself at home, sometimes the mental health is very different picture for every person. So sometimes it was just enough to just get through the day. I understood that back then when I was very depressed. So even though I had all the free time, I didn't discover shit. So, but I would say a lot of my clients were single parent, especially single mom, and it's very rough. And the idea of getting into a relationship was very tempting. For women, there's an extra pressure, either subconsciously or very, very obvious from family and society to just, get remarry again and find a partner to share the life with and to basically help with the responsibility. But if we got into a long-term relationship, especially intimate relationship, for any reason, like convenience or like just because we were expect to, or just because we should, then that relationship would not be fulfilling and it will fall apart sooner or later.
Yeah.
We entering it because of fear. We should enter it because of love, not because of fear. And so that our intention wasn't right at the right place, then our relationship would not be helpful for us. It would just be one of the patterns that we keep repeating. It will get into a relationship that we should not be into, and it will keep continuing on as like a vicious cycle. But when we have the courage to be on ourselves, and like most of my clients discovered that after that, they opened their eyes so much that the relationship, it was only like a part of them, but any kind of intimate relationship they got into was so much more fulfilling and such deeper connection. And that would not happen if we had no idea who we are. If we completely lost ourselves, we don't know what we're looking for, then
Definitely.
then we wouldn't find what we wanted.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so glad that like my son is about to be 5 years old this year in September. And I feel like I have just reached the point of like being really comfortable enough with myself. And I'm starting to go out into the dating world again.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I've really noticed is that this time around, I'm dating more out of want other than dating out of need. But one of the things I'm kind of struggling with and why I'm really excited to talk to you is because I noticed here that you have a big focus on busy professionals. And I'm a single mom and I run my own consulting business, EDJ Consulting Group, and I have my podcast. So I'm really busy. So how do you kind of work with your clients who want to do, the self work and find, focus on themselves personally, but are just so busy? Because when I look at lifestyle gurus and spiritual coaches on Instagram or on YouTube, I see them, meditating for hours a day and going to yoga classes and, meal prepping for 4 hours on a Sunday and doing all of these things. And I'm like, I would love
good for them.
do
Nobody
that.
got time for that. Okay.
I know. I'm like, I would love to do that. But I'm like, you have nothing else to do but that because that's your job. And like, I have so many other things I have to do during the day that I'm like, I sometimes feel a little bit discouraged because I'm like, I just don't have the time to do that. And then when I do have the time after my son goes to bed, it's like at the end of the day and I'm like exhausted.
Yes.
So how do you kind of focus your work on busy professionals?
Because I am also one. I am also a busy professional. And I don't get no time to do 3-hour morning routine every day. It's not possible. It's just not
I don't know who does.
Like, I don't have any like elaborate ritual that I make my client do because that's just bullshit. I mean, like, there's probably some benefit that I don't know of, but there's no benefit if you cannot do it. It would just if I think that for spiritual path, in order for it to work for you, you have to get it have to work for your life. You cannot just, not everybody can change their life completely to follow a spiritual path. That's not how it works. We have our own life and our own responsibility, and we cannot just drop everything to just do that. So I am one. So I am really understand that kind of schedule. But I'm also like a high achiever. So when I set to do something, then I would do it. So that's why I tend to work with, I think most busy professionals are kind of high achiever, that we tend to finish our tasks, like we kind of go getter. We don't just wait for things to just drop into our lap. We actively go pursue it. And that drive will actually be very helpful. So in my work, I don't give them any kind of ritual to do, zero. The only thing I ask them to do is to do meditation or mindfulness. If they not aware of how to do meditation, then I would teach them. And the meditation I ask them to do start out literally 5 minutes a day, or even less, depend on their lifestyle. But the point of meditation is not for them to get enlightened, but it's to increase their awareness. And that's more like a foundational skill that you just try to get the practice in. And no matter how busy you are in your day, you probably can squeeze in 5 minutes. I would tell a lot of the single mom, like, if you cannot find 0 minute in your day, try to do it in your shower. Like, you can do meditation anywhere and anytime, and with whatever you're doing. You don't have to sit on the cushion and zen out. It doesn't, you know, you have to be connected with real life. So if you cannot find anything, do it in the shower, even for 5 minutes, and that will help. And then most other work content is reflection and writing. And usually it's gonna be like 1 or 2 hours a week. So if they can find time for that to do, then that will be a great work to do. But there is some time that you have to set aside, but it's not like so unmanageable that a busy professional can do it. Most of them find that reasonable. If I have like a longer homework, then usually I schedule integration week during my program. So when there is like a bigger homework or assignment that need more time, if it needs more than 2 hours, then that usually the time that instead of having like a live session with me, that's the time that they have off, so they can do that. So they can do that assignment. But yeah, so it's everything like integrated into my own schedule when I work with a client. So either they have live session with me or they're gonna do their assignment. Aside from those time, which is an hour a week, then they're gonna do some meditation, which is like as much as they can muster. Probably 5 minutes a day is sufficient, or some writing. So depend how people write, but it's not like you writing an essay for college that you have to follow a guideline. You just let your thought flow. So people can, you know, let it speak to word in their computer, or they can write. And some people find it like, most of them, even the slowest, gonna take it under an hour. But it can be more because it's very relaxing. So it all depends on their time. But then it needs some like a small amount of time commitment, because you kind of need to focus on yourself, and it's hard when you doing all kind of other tasks to be alone. Usually those insights come when you are alone and calm down a little, not so hectic with everything else. So there is some time that you need to commit to set aside for spiritual growth, but it's not like 3 hours, you know. So
yeah, I just started a journal. I want to say it's like a gratitude journal where I write down in the morning the things I'm grateful for, kind of start my day off positive. I write down 3 things that I want to achieve today. And then at the end of the day, I kind of like do like a reflection. Like, did I achieve my tasks? You know, what happened during the day? What are some positives? What are some things that kind of didn't go right? And before, I used to be like a social media addict. I would just sit at my table in the morning and drinking my morning coffee and scroll Instagram. But now I do my gratitude journaling and just kind of like doing a little bit of those swaps. I'm very new. I just started like a couple weeks ago. But I'm like, it's kind of putting my mind, I guess, in the right position in the morning. And then when I do my reflection at night, I would normally put my son down and like collapse on my sofa and watch TV.
Yes.
Like, finally, the day is done. Yeah. I had a little bit of peace. But now I've kind of done my reflection at that time, instead of immediately turning the TV on, and I'll kind of like sit with myself for a couple minutes. And then, you know, like I'll turn on my show or pour a glass of wine. And it's not like I don't watch TV ever, because some of the, you know, coaches and gurus that people see online, like they're like, oh, we're only on our phone an hour a day, or we completely gave up TV. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
no,
I
no.
can't give up TV. I can't give up the Real Housewives. Like,
No, no, no. I think in this modern age, nobody can give up modern technology. So that is just out of touch with reality. It's not possible.
And what so sparked me about having you on the show is that, like you said, you are a fellow busy professional. And I feel like it's so much easier to have someone understand you when they have similarities and things in common. And like with you, like you kind of know the hectic day to day, but also high achievers, like you said, are people who are go-getters, and they're really good at either multitasking. I know, like, there was a couple times when I started my journaling and I didn't get to it in the morning to write it down, and me and my son had to go somewhere. So I would turn on Siri in my car and like just say my gratitude and like say my tasks that I wanted to accomplish that day, and like have Siri save it in the notes on my phone. Yeah. And then when I got home, I would write it down, you know, so I could, because I'm OCD, I got to keep my pages in my journal accurate. But
yeah, so I think the thing about high achiever that's really helpful is like, once we know a motivation of doing something, like no matter how we do things, we will set it done. The point is to get it done, not to in any particular way of doing it. Like as long as we accomplish the task, then it's fine. And I think busy professional is also good because it's realistic. It's make us not separated. It's easier for us to just incorporate our growth into our daily life and just integrate it for the long term, instead of, let's say if with somebody else, they have, let's say, take a break in their life and go for this very intensive learning or teaching, and then they come back to their practical life, you know, back to their real life. You cannot be, I don't know, not everybody can just quit their life and be a guru or yoga, or, you know, go become a yogi, everyone. So after some time, whenever you take that big break to learn spirituality, you have to come back to real life. And there's going to be such a harsh reality like crashing down on you. And it's so easy to lose and to lose a lot of things that you already practice. Not easy to incorporate in a busy life. But if you're starting out, having your spiritual practice in your daily life, then it's easier to carry it on. You just move on top of it. There's not a disconnect between your current life and what you learn in spirituality. So that's what I find an advantage. And bravo to you to start doing a journal, gratitude journal. It's not an assignment in my program. I don't even ask people to do journal because I don't do journal. So, but it's actually have scientific evidence of actually increase your positivity and well-being. So, kudos to you.
Thank you. I got it off of Amazon. I just like searched Amazon. And I was reading in the summer. In the winter, I binge watch TV. That's like my thing. But in the summer, I like to get outside, set my hammock up. And that's when I do like the most reading. And so I picked up a couple books off of Amazon, and one of them was one of the secret books, Magic. And it talked a lot about gratitude and, you know, just putting your headspace in a positive light. And the more, you know, negative thoughts you have and the more resentment you hold on to, the more you're going to like attract that negativity. And the more positive vibrations you put out in the world and the more positive things that you focus on and hold on to, the more you're going to kind of notice those things. And being a single mom and living so far away from my friends and my home and my family, I was holding on to like a ton of resentment and negative feelings, and I'm trying to be better. That's all we can do as humans, right?
Right. I think
And I think it's honestly helping. I thought it was a little woo-woo in the beginning, but I'm like, wow, like I'm kind of really noticing a difference. Like
Yeah.
me and my son are getting along, better. He's not having as many tantrums because I feel like he's not feeling my negative energy, and more good things are happening. I don't know if more good things are happening or if I'm just noticing more good because I'm not focusing on the negative, but either way, I'm happy with it. So I think it's super easy, and I like doing it, and it keeps me off of social media. Because over the pandemic, I have become so addicted to scrolling social media. I'm like, it like annoys me. I'm like, why am I doing this? It's like I keep going back to it more and more. So I'm trying to find more things to keep me offline, like my journaling, or we started a garden and things like that, because I'm like, I looked at my phone and it said one day that I spent 8 hours on my phone. I'm like, that is insane.
I think there should be a balance. So there is a place for us to like just wind down and vegetate our brain out a little. We cannot just always, make our brain working so hard, either, contemplating spiritually or thinking of other things about planning of the future. So there needs to be a balance. There is a time and place for that. Gratitude is very important. It's not about raising your energy and vibe to attract a lot of good things in your life, but it's very good to develop your gratitude, because you would start seeing a lot of first of all, gratitude tend to immediately calm your system down. So like if you work with people, and dealing with someone positive and nice and calm is always so much more pleasant, and you tend to like help them out more compared to, let's say, you deal with very irritated customer or you deal with very negative person. It just kind of makes sense that we, the more positive we are, the more positive things come to us. It just as a human basic level, it's very natural for us to respond better to someone that is positive and is nice and is calm than someone that always negative and always irritated. It's very hard to work with that kind of energy.
Yeah.
So gratitude is one of the like the best way. One of the best. If you only have one prayer, it just should be thank you. It should be gratitude, and that's really helpful. But it's help you go so far, but not getting help to the root of the problem, because there is like certain pattern in our life, and a lot of them came from our not only our life circumstances, but also from how we get brought up. And a lot of that are our unconscious belief that just got ingrained in us without our control. And we just operated under those beliefs, and we just never really think about it. So on our life, sometimes a lot of things happen according to like patterns. Like we attract certain kind of relationship, or our job certain kind of go this way, or our money habit tend to, we might get a lot of money in and then just bleeds out. It's just leaking out all the time. So there's a lot of those kind of patterns that set in our unconscious way that no amount of gratitude kind of reset it. We have to become conscious of it. So that the importance of having any kind of awareness developing. So gratitude journal is actually one of the way to increase your awareness. So that help you to start recognizing things, start recognizing the pattern. And if we have enough courage, we can face it and actually dive deeper and to find the root of the problem, to reset the pattern. Because we cannot use gratitude to just suppress it. If we have any unprocessed emotion, unprocessed anger or resentment, we cannot use just like positive to suppress this. It does not like, it's similar with like when we grieving for something, nice word not gonna help us feel better in the end. We do need to process it, and it's not a pleasant feeling. It can be difficult. but it's necessary if we want to change at the root of things. And not only that, we will set an example for our children later. It's like we understand so deeply. We change as a person from the inside out, and our future generation will actually thank us because we heal those kind of the wound and those kind of patterns, so they don't have to repeat it. So it's very helpful for that one. If we, like when we go deeper into spiritual growth, so.
They better thank us, because it's hard to raise tiny human beings.
Yes, one of the most difficult tasks in life is actually parenting. It's not anything else, it's actually parenting. Because no matter what you do, you're gonna affect your children. There's no way around it. Good thing you do or bad thing you do, anything will affect your children. But I would say this, when I talk to a lot of single mom when they're freaking out about, I'm ruining my children, I'm traumatizing them. It's like, your children go through you, like, of course you have, okay, so this is get a little bit weird, like there's, of course, like a soul contract that you guys gonna have this kind of parenting children relationship, but you are not responsible for your children's life path. They have their own life path. They will have their own lesson to learn. And even if you try so hard, you probably won't be able to take off them. It's like, just like when you have your children, no matter how well you teach them, no matter how strict or how disciplined you are with them, they have their own personality. Like, I'm sure no parents want their kids to be so stubborn and talk back to you or whatever. They come here with their own personality, like we don't have any way of doing that. So we can only be example, treat them with, like with love and care and stuff like that. We do the best we can to support them, but we're not responsible, let's say, for our children's actions, for our children's life lesson in life. And it sounds irresponsible, but it's actually true. Like, if you're looking at, maybe they're not like at your kid, like 5 years old, like, okay, you're just responsible for your life. It's not like that, we still have to, like, this is too young out of age. But I mean, like, even when they grow old, when they grow older, a teenager or a young adult, if they make mistake in their teenage life, in their young adult, or like, like how people as an adult age, they become alcoholic or a drug addict or do something bad. Let's say somebody robbed the bank. Do you think their parents responsible for their action of robbing the bank? Of course not.
Oh, no.
Right? So there is a balance between, like, we try to do everything for our children and feel responsible for everything in their life. But we actually not, we can only do the best we can to support them. And the best thing we can do is actually heal ourselves. And our children, as they grow up, their awareness is gonna recognize that. They're gonna know more about it, and they will see us as an inspiration, as a real life proof that things can change. Like especially when, like, let's say first generation in America, immigrant, whatever, when they make a breakthrough in the family. That's why when somebody like first go to college in the family or first achieve like a milestone, very different from the family, they become a beacon in their family for future generation to come, just to show that it is possible, just to show that, okay, like this is like an example and like a real life inspiration for them to strive for. So the best thing as a parent to do is to support our children as best as we can, give them their space to grow, and know there's a balance, that we cannot be responsible for everything. We wish for it. We wish they don't have to suffer any, difficulty, but it's not like that in life. They have to go through their own challenges. So we just have to support them the best we can. And yeah, the best thing we can do is heal ourselves. And a lot of that will come up. Like, our children will notice. Our children will notice when we, our children can notice when we're in the mood, when we're in the irritating mood, or if we're like in good mood. So when we heal ourselves, there is a shift in us. that even if our children cannot quite understand it yet, but they will notice it in the subconscious way. And as they grow older, they will, when they have more life experience, and that's when you be more open. You're not going to talk to them like they 5, you talk to them as an adult, then, as more equal. When you're able to share those kind of life difficulty and challenges and what led you to all this kind of personal growth, they might find those kind of wisdom through you. And since you already did the work, they might not have to do that work. What happened in my work, I see a lot is, especially for women, we have a lot of generational wounds. Let's say our mom and our older female elders in our house, we tend to repeat that pattern, especially in relationship when we have certain kind of belief, like a woman blaze or a woman road, or some kind of thing like that.
Right.
When it passed down to us, that one of that become a generational wound. And once we healed it, when we healed it, our daughters and also our sons, when they grown up, they will see that they don't have to heal that wound anymore because we healed it already. So they will talk to us and they will understand, okay, this kind of transformation happening, but they no longer have to have that kind of trauma carrying on. So they don't have that wound to go on further down generation. We break the pattern. We stop it here with us. So we're doing amazing work if we're just working on ourselves.
I love that.
As many of you know, finance is my profession. When I'm not here laughing, sipping, and chatting with all of you. I have over a decade of financial industry experience, and financial wellness is such a passion of mine. Like many things in the world, finances tend to look a little differently for women, even in today's generation. Webull has simplified the stock market and investing game with an easy-to-navigate, zero-commission platform that has free real-time quotes, multi-platform accessibility, 24/7 online help, and extended trading hours. If you're looking to increase your financial portfolio and set up your retirement IRA and start investing in yourself, click the link in the show notes below to receive 2 free stocks on me. Okay, wine moms, let's get serious, but just for a moment. For years, I have been dreaming up and working on putting together a nonprofit program to aid the youth aging out of the foster care system. Recently, I submitted this idea to the heads of the Department of Child and Family Services here in my state, and thankfully, my program was approved. They saw an overwhelming need, and the Sterling Lives program is now moving forward. But to make this a reality, we will need more than the little bit of government funding allocated for these youth. Most of these youth aging out will face homelessness, addiction, incarceration, or worse. At best, many continue the cycle of negativity by entering into criminal organizations and gangs, or abusive relationships that result in unwanted pregnancies, poverty, unsafe work trades, leading to even more children entering the foster care system and families living off government welfare. To break these chains and end the cycle, the Sterling Lives program is dedicated to helping aged out youth transition into healthy, productive adults, granting youth eco-friendly and affordable housing, safe work opportunities with flexible schedules to prioritize mental health, education, and job training, all while boosting America's rural economy with sustainable, environmentally focused tourism. Ways you can help are by snagging up some MWP merch, drinking One Hope wine, and donating directly at the Sterling Lives GoFundMe. All links are in the show notes below.
Oh, sorry. I forgot that this was a podcast for a second. I'm sitting here thinking about digesting everything you said. And I'm like, wait, sorry, this is audio. I gotta talk. I just sat there and kind of dozed off. Not dozed off, but kind of was really listening hard and digesting everything that you said.
Yeah, yeah. Most of my most of my friends and clients sometimes they take note, and then they talk to me like, "Oh, remember we talked about this?" I'm like, "Nope, I do not remember anything." They would take like give me like the screenshot of our text chat or something like that, and I'm like, "Oh, that was." A lot of my so the funny way I work is a lot of my wisdom come out in conversation. I cannot just like sit down and like think formally of what I want to write and write an essay about it and be very coherent. So so like come out of conversation. So like I'm like just dishing out this kind of wisdom, and then yeah, and then some of my former client or my friend they would just like take a screenshot of our text conversation and save it on their phone, which is kind of it's very moving when they show me that. I didn't know I make that kind of impact in their life, but yeah, sometimes it's it's one of those words, right? Like even just like my conversation with my best friend years ago, talking about that, and it wasn't anything kind of grand. It was just very casual, very about vulnerability, about ourselves, and about what we think, and it was just that feeling. It was just like once our eyes are opened, we won't get back.
Yeah.
That's one of the things of spiritual growth. It's not like so it's different level of growth, and so like one of the good level that everybody like is like when we get to a certain level, just like when we open our eyes to things, like once we know the earth is round, we're not gonna go back and say, okay, the earth is flat kind of thing. so like there's a certain knowledge, right? Once we know it, we don't go back to be confused as before. So similarly with spiritual growth, like let's say when for me, what happened for me was when I self-forgive myself, I don't go back to become very confused about like losing completely who I was anymore. There's still gonna be bad days and hard time and challenging coming up. Um, but that when we get right to a certain level, we're not gonna relapse to whoever we was before when we were so lost and confused. We're gonna have our new challenges, but we're not gonna be completely lost like before. So those kind of vertical, like there is like certain thing, certain step, certain level, I guess. I don't know how to find a better word for it, but once we get to those, we don't fall backward. It's like it's similar with our well-being. Like once we let's say for someone, let's say once they found their passion or their purpose, they don't go back to relapse to when they were very confused and very unfulfilled, and then they don't know what the hell they're doing with their life, kind of thing. So like once you have that kind of recognition or wisdom about yourself, you don't just back to being in the dark. Um, but also spiritual growth is a spiral process. So I guess it's like a funny paradox one. So like when we go on healing, and sometimes we think that we heal something, like especially for anger, especially with relationship, when we tend to have certain kind of trigger, and we feel like, oh, we worked so long and we feel so good, and we're like, yeah, we completely heal everything, we're a new person now, and then something happened and we got triggered, and we're like, shit. So
I feel like anger has to be like the strongest emotion, because it's one of those things, it's like a little annoying. I don't know. Like it's one of those things that kind of just like nips at your ankles and you think you got rid of it. It's like a little gremlin or something. You think you got rid of it and you think you're fine. And then something just like you said, like triggers something or sparks it back up. And you're like, you're like, damn it. Go. I thought I got rid of you. Go away.
Yeah. So that's a very typical part of healing process. Like when we think we heal something, but then we got triggered, so we can go deeper. So we did heal a lot of things, but we just go deeper. It's just like a wound. Like we thought like, okay, it's healed for the skin, but sometimes there's a pus coming up and we haven't drained out all the pus yet, kind of thing. Okay, this kind of gross medical analogy. It's very similar.
Thank you so much.
It's very gross medical analogy, but it's similar, right? Like if we it's very similar. So it's not like spiritual growth is not like a band-aid. If we treat it like a band-aid, our wound never get healed. We have sometimes our wound have to be cut open, which is not great, and get all the pus out, and we have this big sore on our arm. And then we need time for it to heal and stuff like that. So it can be very unpleasant, especially when I work with clients and dealing with resentment or anger. It can be very, very unpleasant. But we did help. Once they heal some kind of level, and even when we get triggered again, we're not gonna be spiraling down to like lose it completely. There is a catch. We are quicker to catch ourselves. We are quicker like, oh my God, why am I angry? Right? The moment we recognize that we're angry and we being triggered, we are not completely lost to our anger. We are aware of it. Then we're not losing our control to our anger.
I've definitely noticed that, especially like over the past year. I've done so much work on myself. Like now, before, if my son's dad did something stupid, I would like rage text him, yell at him, call him an idiot or like whatever, right? I'd be like in this whole downward anger spiral and I would like totally act out. Now, if he does something stupid, I'm just like, good job, bro. And like,
yeah. So we did heal. But sometimes we feel like we didn't heal anything because we still get triggered. It doesn't mean that it go completely away. It's a continual process, like spiraling down into, like until we completely transform it. So every time we get triggered, we should go another level deeper. So we don't get discouraged. But yeah, so usually that's how it usually look like when exactly what you described, like. When you recognize you're angry, like, oh, okay, you're not gonna go down to like a raging path like before, but like deal with it is a much more calmer and much more wholesome.
Yeah, and I used to think it was such a crock when people would be like, you can't change the people around you, but you can change how you react to things. And I used to be like, no, the people around me just need to stop being dumb. But like, if people are dumb, they're going to continue being dumb. So now I've kind of like done the reflection and I'm like, wow, I really did just change the way I reacted. And surprisingly, it's kind of made things a little like we're kind of on a good road right now with co-parenting. And I think maybe not, I don't know, but maybe the way I have kind of been able to control my reactions have, maybe contributed to that a little bit.
So definitely contribute that. I think that kind of, it's very catchy to say it like that, but it's not the full picture. We definitely cannot change anyone. We just can't. We cannot change our children. We cannot change our partner. It's just a fact. Okay. We cannot change a person. We don't have that kind of power. I don't think anyone has that kind of power. But when we change the way we react, and I think people forget that, I guess mainstream forget to mention it's like we as a person and as people, we are human. We change constantly every day. Like me, myself, might be different to me 15 minutes ago. Very different from me last year and completely different from me a decade ago. So
oh, definitely.
We are changing and we are growing, but the day-to-day change might be minute or very minor that we might not recognize it. But when the most of the dissatisfactions or anger coming from relationship, like, oh, why don't you change? Or why can't you see it my way? Is we expecting people to match the image of them that we have in our head, but it's not truly who they are. And that's where the disconnect come from. So when the relationship improve, because our behavior improve, not because that we change them, the person, but because we change our perceptions and we don't expect them to change to match our version of them that we have in our head. So that's really helpful. And second of all, once our behavior change, we give them space. We're not like forcing them to change, but we give them space and room to grow at their own pace. And so it's both. So not only we changing, not only just our behavior, but we are changing and they also changing. And eventually we all change for the better. But if we keep forcing them towards our ideas in our head, then nobody growing anywhere. We only grow more frustrated.
Definitely. Well, I've enjoyed having you on the show so much. This was such a powerful and enlightening conversation. And I'm sure my audience is going to want to learn more about you. So go ahead and share with everyone where they can find you online or social media.
So I have my own website that I've been revamped. So it might look different now until, the podcast live or whatever. So my website is spunkyspiritualist.com. And you can find all the information of myself on there. On social media, I am only active on Facebook. I do not have any other type of social media. So on Facebook, my page is also Spunky Spiritualist. And that's where you can go find and connect with me. And if people... I have a free guide about 7 steps to move on. So when things don't work out, so that's a good guide to download. It's have worksheets and everything that you need to process things when things don't work out. Also, I have like a blog, and with a page of you can ask me anonymously. So if I think it's very helpful for a lot of people when they don't have to. don't have to show their identity and just ask anonymously. And sometimes I pick one of those questions to answer on the blog. So that's very helpful if people want to get to know me more.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, everyone go snag the free download and ask a question. And who knows, maybe your question will be answered.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Tiffany. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Emma.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Wine moms, I have a confession. Coffee is one of my major food groups. Having my son home with me all year through a pandemic, expanding my home bookkeeping practice, EDJ Consulting Group, getting my nonprofit program, Sterling Lives, approved, beginning to homeschool, starting sports, getting roped into being a coach. It's honestly what keeps me going and retaining the little bit of sanity I have left. Coffee over cardio is my go-to lifesaver. It's owned and operated by female entrepreneur Abby Scott, and it's all carb-free, sugar-free, keto-friendly, and gluten-free. With super fun flavors like birthday cake, cinnamon bun, French toast, vanilla hazelnut, my favorite, and so many more, you honestly can't go wrong. Coffee over cardio has all your coffee accessories like tumblers and frothers, creamers, and my must-have hydrate you can add to coffee or water, upping the flavor and hydration with electrolytes. Abby is seriously a genius. Get 10% off when you use my code 10EMMADAWN and free shipping on orders over $85. Once again, that's code 10EMMADAWN, and the link is in the show notes below. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Mommy Wines podcast. Make sure to leave a rating and review. And don't forget, if you're listening on YouTube, to give this video a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. And feel free to share this episode with your friends. Be like, hey girl, just listen to this super awesome and relatable podcast from Mommy Wines. Here's the link to the episode. Have fun. And to support the show and keep it growing, snag some MWP merchandise available at themommywines.com. You can also find all of my wine gadgets and my favorites right there under the shop page. For even more tipsy content, follow Mommy Wines Podcast on Instagram. On IG, I go live with real wine industry professionals. I try new sips, connect with all of you wine moms, and share some pretty funny memes if I do say so myself. All sponsor info and links will be available in the details below. So until next Wine Wednesday, mamas, parent and drink responsibly.